My dream is truly to create great jobs and enable everyone to have a fulfilling life, a peaceful, fulfilling life, and also to thrive economically with plenty of opportunities. That's why we need people who are more daring, ideally more women, to show what is possible.
Welcome to Cutting Edge, the podcast, created and brought to you by L'Oreal Professional Products, an exclusive series about the world's top hairstylists. Through their unique stories, visions, and voices, these rule-breaking artists from around the world share their journeys to success, how they are shaping the future of hairstyling and professional beauty in their own way, and how they are elevating the profession to new heights. A podcast series produced by L'Oreal Professional Products. Today, we meet with Samantha Schueller from Dusseldorf, Germany, who proudly forged her own definition of the profession through coaching, mentoring, well-being, and women's leadership.
My name is Samantha Schueller. I am 33 years old. I come from Dusseldorf, Germany. I am a hairstylist, entrepreneur, coach, speaker, and mother. I believe what defines me is my authenticity, my humanity, and the fundamental importance of self-determination in my life. My vision is to show other self-employed people how to redefine the concept of independence for more flexibility, more autonomy, and of course, improve cost-effectiveness.
Welcome, Samantha. We're delighted to have you with us today. Since you are many things, could you give us an overview of all the hats you currently wear in your daily life?
I've been an entrepreneur for 11 years. I'm also a coach and a speaker, and I'm devoting more time to entrepreneurship. For the past 4 years, I haven't worked as a hairstylist. I am specialized in team management, pricing, and business development, and now I share this expertise with others in the industry.
Tell us about your journey into hairstyling. How did it all start for you?
I started my training when I was 17, and upon completing it, I immediately obtained my Master Hairstylist diploma. At that time, it was quite normal for new professionals in my field to not earn a high salary. I kept going down that path without ever considering becoming self-employed. That wasn't an option for me at the time, but I didn't find a job that offered me certain opportunities or a work environment that met my individual needs. Then I became a salon manager. For about a year and a half, I observed how things worked. I saw a very hierarchical management style with very authoritarian leadership and a lot of dissatisfaction with the management. I saw how my boss, after 8 years of running her own business, was still completely exhausted by the work. This made me realize it couldn't go on like that, and at 21, I believed I could do better. It was really by chance that I came across a small salon and started thinking about setting up my own business. I worked completely alone for 2 years. Then I found employees who wanted to work with me. That was also a coincidence because I never really wanted to have employees, and this helped me to realize what leadership actually means. At first, I thought I would tell people what needed to be done, and they would do it. But that's not how employee management is. Of course, I also had my ups and downs with the people who weren't a good fit, and then I thought, I only want to work with people who truly fit my values, prioritizing their character and human qualities over technical expertise. And that has served me well to this day.
You became a mother during the COVID period, and this time sparked your desire to rethink your work life. Could you describe the process you went through?
When the COVID time came and when I became a mom, I thought about taking some time off. That's when things really started to shift, along with this reflection. What do I actually want from life? Because at that moment, my priorities changed. It's true that you don't necessarily need to have a child to realize you have to be your own priority. For me, it was simply that moment that pushed me to ask myself those questions. Because before, I was stuck in my daily routine. Everyone knows it. Work, pay the bills. We can't really complain, but we're not really making progress either. And that routine goes on for 6, 7, 8 years, and you look back at your life and think, I've been working all the time, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to break down at some point in my salon. I've always been working, while life is so much more than that. I took my maternity leave for a year and a half and just saw that things could work without me. I also completely transferred my client portfolio. I completely handed it over, which was definitely not an an easy decision for me, but the best decision to enjoy a little more freedom. And that's what I wanted, so I could also take on this new role of having a child. I just wanted flexibility, and that's only possible if you build up an independent business. That was definitely a decisive point in my life, a moment of reflection. My daughter forced me to ask myself, what do I really want in life?
What has happened since then?
Since then, it has grown a lot, even more than I had imagined. After the pandemic, we quadrupled in size. I hired more staff, and people came up to me asking, Sammy, how do you do it? Since you've had your baby, you no longer perform hairstyling services, you delegate tasks, and you're expanding and investing even more. How do you do it? That's when I started talking about it. For the past 3 or 4 years, I've finally dared to speak openly about my different approach, because I never thought I'd be able to truly implement or articulate doing things differently. In addition, it became clear to me that although the hairstyling trade is mostly made up of women, women do not dominate entrepreneurship in this sector. This realization prompted me to think I had to be a good example. I needed to dare to state what I can do, who I am, and what I can afford, rather than diminishing myself to make others feel more comfortable. And that's how it all began. Today, I've even founded a second company. We provide management consulting for hairstylists, craftsmen, and service providers, but also for people in all sectors, from beauticians to tattoo artists. I'm lucky to help people earn more money by working less and better managing their staffing challenges. The goal is to remain attractive to young people and to keep positions appealing for those we hire. That's why I'm now going on stages beyond Germany, speaking to share my expertise with others.
Tell us about your Düsseldorf salon and what makes it special.
When you come into my salon, you can see that it used to be a brewery, which has now been transformed into a hair salon. So it has a lot of character when you come in. There is a lot to see and discover, and I just have a very, very relaxed, friendly team. Of course, we also experience professionalism from A to Z, but it's like coming to a friend's house, and that's also very important to me, even when it comes to advice. That's how I train my team as well. I personally onboard every employee out of respect for their decision to join my business. I guide them by asking, what would you say to your best friend? You would honestly tell your best friend if certain things simply don't work or only work under specific conditions. And I think that's what most people feel. And I get a lot of feedback about that. What a casual, relaxed atmosphere. We only work through one customer at a time, no parallel work. We have no pressure in our everyday lives, no time pressure, no turnover pressure. I want people to be able to grow in that space. They know their daily tasks, but without anyone breathing down their necks. That's incredibly important to me, to build a pressure-free workplace, and the customers notice it because I don't have any stressed hairstylists in my salon.
Since you're no longer behind the chair, how do you manage to keep your image and DNA working in the salon every day?
My salon actually works completely without my physical presence, and it runs this way because I've infused it with my DNA. I built it up through my personal brand, my passion, and my enthusiasm, always fostering strong relationships right from the start. In 2017, Instagram stories were launched, and since then, I've been sharing the daily life of my salon with people every day, until I delegated it to a colleague who is now taking care of it. And what definitely defines us is showing humanity, authenticity, and closeness. That means people know us when they go to the salon. They know my employees. Each of them has a certain visibility, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what people feel comfortable sharing, and they also have the opportunity to develop individually and show themselves to people. Finding the right target group has significant advantages. When clients identify with you, we've had no problems building our customer base from the very start. This approach has also simplified employee recruitment, as other colleagues see our philosophy and feel inspired to join. I have a trusted second-in-command who ensures this DNA, as I like to call it, is embedded exactly as I envision. Crucially, I now also have employees who have been with me for 5 or 6 years. Their long experience significantly eases the process of integrating and mentoring newcomers. This positive dynamic is something my employees consistently report back to me. I have a lot of people who had their last chance to be a hairstylist again because they lost joy for the job due to the kind of leadership they had experienced before. For example, I have an employee who has been working with me for over a year, and she wrote to me just recently that she is finally enjoying her job again because the workplace is so nice. And that's super nice to hear. I do a lot to protect the fact that people are doing well. That means listening, taking care of their needs, even whether you can understand them or not. I take my people seriously, and I've integrated their needs into my business concept, especially regarding working hours and salary expectations. This is because my employees are my most important asset.
By achieving a satisfying work-life balance for you and your employees, you created an environment that fosters motivation and trust. How does it work?
The needs that are often shared with me, whether from my own employees or from other salons, are typically identified by attentively listening to their concerns regarding working hours and scheduling. Work-life balance is a big issue, not only for me, but also for my employees. For example, we've reduced our working hours. Now we only work 4 days a week with 8-hour days instead of 10. As a result, we also increased salaries, and with fewer clients, we actually end up earning more. And with that, I'm not just talking about myself. I include my employees on it, and I have only succeeded in doing so since I also take time to take care of my company and really develop strategies to achieve our goals. That's where I always take my people with me, so they can find a purpose, a motivation, to understand why they work and what the goal of their work is. And that goes beyond customers, haircuts, or hair colors. It's also about what they want to achieve in their own lives. People feel incredibly motivated when we listen to them and take their needs seriously and ask them what drives them. Because, of course, everyone is motivated by different things, whether it's more vacation, more money, or appreciation. And that makes employee management incredibly complicated and difficult, but that's exactly what it means, taking the time to truly focus on people.
You have also differentiated yourself by specializing in a particular color service. Can you tell us about it and how successful it is?
A key reason people come to our salon is our specialization. We became known for our expertise in balayage, all types of blonde services, and bold, colorful hair transformations. And I didn't want to be the 1000th balayage expert, so I thought, okay, how can I position this in marketing so that it has a unique selling point? Through social media, people now have higher chances of finding a good hairstylist. And then I thought, okay, how can we say we're doing something no one else is? And we specialized in techniques like low-maintenance hair colors, baby lights, and foliage. We understand that for our customers, the final result is what truly matters, not the specific steps we take to get there. Consequently, we further refined our specialization to offer techniques that effectively minimize the need for frequent root touch-ups. We are a salon that deliberately declines certain services to ensure we have dedicated availability for our target clientele. This approach was met with some surprise within the industry, as it challenges the conventional wisdom that a hairstylist should never turn down a service. You can be happy that customers come to you, but I thought, no, I want to go exactly in that direction. I want to stir the hive to attract the right bees. And that's exactly why people come to us from Frankfurt, Berlin, Hamburg, to look exactly like that, for the look we stand for. Coloration that lasts longer. I think that's also something that hairstylists are a bit afraid of, specializing, because they grew up saying, I have to do everything. I have to be happy that customers are there. But in the long run, we make more money with specialization. Thanks to specialization, we can also have the courage to say, we are now taking a very specific path with our services. And that's exactly what will allow us, over time, to set ourselves apart from the others.
Let's talk about the academy you founded. What is its mission, and what subjects do you teach?
2 years ago, I founded the Kopfsache Academy because I was getting so many requests asking how I do it all. So I thought about what I had done differently and actually developed my own business concept, a method based on 6 main axes. That starts with self-management, because I've noticed that many hairstylists simply carry around the old convictions with them, and accordingly, old beliefs, and also a bit afraid of earning money by raising their prices. It's a recurring theme. This concept is structured structured around a system that we form. Then we move on to managing calculations, pricing, wages, and then optimizing the systems for efficient work and efficient systems in the salon, so that the salon can also function without management. This means a little more freedom for everyone, including the employees. Like this, they always know what to do in every situation. That's where marketing comes in. Then the big point of employee management. These are the 6 main topics that I'm currently coaching. I've observed across all areas that everything begins with self-management and a deep self-reflection, asking questions like, why did I truly become self-employed? How should my life genuinely grow and develop? And do I truly believe I deserve to live a successful life? This introspection is crucial because within our craft, we have often been so steeped in modesty that we no longer even recognize the incredible things we have created. Because the jobs are poorly paid, they don't pay what you put into them, and it's simply become an unattractive job. That's why I want to show that it can work differently. That's how I thrive. I have mentorships, coaching sessions, and every day I help other colleagues to overcome their limits on a daily basis. Basically, people say to me, I'm the gentle forceps because I give people the right push to be a little more daring, to follow their own path, and to detach themselves from external constraints.
Who are your target students? And what are the key questions and lessons you address in your coaching sessions?
The main target group is independent service providers like beauticians, tattoo artists, dog salons, and of course, a lot of hairstylist colleagues. And we have master classes where I teach my business method, which I bring to everyone. Otherwise, I do a lot of individual coaching. I suggest individual discussion topics, and I also give them tasks to complete. The main message of my seminars and coaching sessions is really to give courage. I give people some self-confidence, and I say, you are exactly right the way you are, and your visions and your values can be bigger, and you can think bigger. You can generate profit. The main point that I convey to my colleagues, it's built around the reflection. What do you actually want from your self-employment? What is your goal in life? How should your goals look like in 5 to 10 years? Or what should the exit from your self-employment look like? And also, to give them the courage and the idea that they can shape it themselves, because that's why we have become self-employed, and we must not forget to build the life we would like to have. Not that others, or our customers, or even our employees want us to have. At the very top is the entrepreneur, the self-employed person who has to ask themselves, what do I want to do with it, and what should my life look like? Because that's the most valuable thing I've also learned, to prioritize myself. Because when I'm doing well, my employees are doing well, my customers are doing well, and we learn to take care of ourselves. We need to reflect on ourselves a little more in order to grow, and we can't always expect something to change from the outside.
What are some of the key trends you are seeing among customers and entrepreneurs today?
A trend that I observe in hairstyling salons is clearly that people, including clients, want above all a relaxing experience. They want to relax, they don't want stress, because somehow life is stressful enough. We need to give more value to time, whether it is from our employees, or from our customers, or even our own, and we're moving more towards preserving sustainability. The sustainability of hair color, hair texture. It's no longer just about a quick cut or a quick color, but people also want to be satisfied for longer. We also look around again and again. What is there to see in other countries? My employees also do a lot of training outside of Germany to stay at the cutting edge of trends. And if everything is completely different in 5 years, we will adapt to that. I think that's the essence of skill. We keep moving, and of course, what we do in 5 years will not be the same as what we do today. And entrepreneurially, I see that people need role models. In the past, large companies had seminars that we could refer to and draw inspiration from. But people want accessible role models for their business, for their self-employment. That's definitely where the trend is going. And I notice that in my profession as well, my job has completely changed. It's no longer just employee management. I find myself getting on stage to talk about my employee management, even outside of Germany, to give people the confidence to do more. more with their self-employment. So there is a lot going on in many areas right now. It's a really exciting time, and I'm also very excited about what's coming.
Well, you've been very active on the issue of women's leadership in business. Can you tell us about your journey in this area?
It took me a long time to realize that even though our industry is mostly made up of women, entrepreneurship is still often dominated by men. One day I asked myself why that is, and by observing myself, I realized that I too often made myself smaller and didn't want to bother anyone. I wanted to stay modest. I definitely didn't want to come across as arrogant. I realized that the turning point came when I had the courage to show how things are in my case, that it's going well, that I can afford a good life, thanks to my hair salon. And I had to be brave to show that, because it went against my socialization and my conditioning. It's not about showing off, but I believe women should dare more to value themselves and claim the space they believe they deserve. We're allowed to be a bit louder and assert ourselves, and that's very important for me to share with the world, because I had my struggles too. Things haven't just been going well for me for the last 4 years. Actually, I've been doing really well for 11 years, but I've never shown it because I didn't dare to. I'm noticing that things are slowly starting to change, and I'm really happy about that. Structurally, everything is still a bit difficult, but women want more and also demand more for themselves. And I am happy about every colleague I have the privilege of supporting because it's such an important topic. We need to show that we can build an independent and self-determined life in the hairstyling business as well. I'm a good example of that because it works. I'm completely financially independent. I can take care of my family, I am a role model for my daughter, and I still don't want to be the stressed out mother or the one who has to sacrifice her family for her career. I manage to balance it all, even if it's not always easy, but it works.
What is the big message you want to get across to women?
I truly believe that women have it particularly hard because they still face very different conditions in today's social structures. They often have to juggle housework, childcare, and caregiving responsibilities, all while running an independent business, and that's a real challenge. That's why we should always reflect on people's starting conditions before making judgments, whether it's about individuals or different genders. That's why it's so important to me to show women that their self-employment isn't just about providing an additional income, but that they can also generate the main income if they are willing to be brave and seek the right help. We need more solidarity in the women's community, but I'm already noticing a shift in the mindset. Nowadays, more women are celebrating each other. This is something I'm noticing more and more, which makes me very happy.
How do you use social media? What do you want to show through it?
Social media was, of course, an amazing tool that came onto the market back then. I used it from the beginning to reach as many people as possible in a very short time, and I used it to show everything that's behind our profession. That's quite funny, because an employee who started with me back then, and with whom I always filmed our everyday life, said, "My friends finally understand what's behind this profession instead of thinking we just cut hair." People evolve depending on their life situation. We don't just listen to the wishes of our clients, we also listen their life situations, the challenges they're going through, the changes in their personal lives. We don't just cut hair or do a bit of color, but we try to use all our expertise to highlight our clients' personalities and to give them more self-confidence. A hair color, a haircut can really make a big difference in everyday life to connect with yourself and highlight your personality. That's why it's more than a little haircut, but also so much more emotional, what we offer people every day and what the hairstylists also do. We reach an incredible number of people and can only win if we start to show personality and authenticity. They will not just choose a blonde hair color, but also the hairstylist who does blonde, who stands for certain values, and who has a real attitude.
How do you think the role of the profession has evolved?
I definitely see that the role in the hairstyling profession has evolved. We noticed that during the COVID period, no one could do without us. Looking back, it's clear there's still a lack of appreciation and general structural support for the hairstyling profession. However, I am confident that by modernizing its needs and processes from initial training to advanced programs, and by integrating the needs of the new generation, we can transform it. If we explore the new possibilities within the hairstyling sector and in the workplaces themselves, I truly believe the profession can evolve and once again be regarded as a viable career path.
In your opinion, what are the key points to further develop the profession?
I think the most important priority we need to learn is to think anew, get a bit of inspiration outside the box, just as other businesses do, because a craft business or a hair salon is so much more than just that. We can also expand so many areas in our company, like social media, staff development, and so on. There are so many possibilities to create positions and also to train our employees in different perspectives. I know we love our profession, but there is so much more that we can do and develop, not only take ourselves more seriously, but also be taken more seriously in the business world. Because a hairstylist entrepreneur can be taken just as seriously as any entrepreneur. To recognize what the best workplace in the world can look like, the best thing to do is to ask your employees and really listen to their needs, because everyone has a different vision of what makes an ideal workplace. That's why I always say, ask your teams how they like to work and see if it matches your concept.
What is it that you would like to see change in the future?
I grew up in a hairstyling industry with a rigid hierarchy. I constantly experienced being treated condescendingly, whether as an apprentice or as a young hairstylist, because somehow I always felt undervalued or not good enough. There was a lot of competition, even within the salon. That's something we definitely need to change, not only for our employees, but also in the entire hairstyling community. I can see that things are starting to shift, but we still tend to judge quickly and put ourselves above our peers. I observe this in every area, including on social media, where there's often this attitude of thinking we know better, whether we judge the work or the approach, and I really don't agree with that at all. We could truly change so much in the industry if we were able to accept differences, if we could accept that others do things differently, that they have their own opinion and develop that sense of tolerance, all while remembering that we have a common denominator, and that is our craft. That's what we need to focus on. The industry is very vulnerable, but we hide it behind our ego, and that is not good for us. And if we return to what the craft really is, a manual craft, then we could all come closer together and fight for the same cause.
Do you have a personal wish or dream for the future?
My greatest wish and my big dream is to grow the Academy because we're one of the first to build ourselves up completely independently of products and brands with our own unique structures. We built everything ourselves, and now we're even starting to hire staff and truly believe in its unique future. My dream is truly to create great jobs and enable everyone to have a fulfilling life, a peaceful, fulfilling life, and also to thrive economically with plenty of opportunities. That each of my team members can work the way they want, that I can also work as I wish. It is definitely important that the industry gets more recognition. That's why we need people who are more daring, ideally more women, to show what is possible. Because appreciation doesn't just come from the outside. We need to start by valuing ourselves. This entails setting clear boundaries for our clients within the company, understanding that we need to balance client expectations with our own well-being. We must also recognize the worth of our own team and those we collaborate with to achieve our goals. It's a real mindset shift. We need to embrace that the power is in our hands. And once we understand that, the recognition will follow. I believe I am a good example of someone who has created her own path without waiting for others to build a path for me. This is because it is within our power and indeed through our independence to unlock the full potential of our work and truly understand its deeper significance. And that depends on each one of us. We have to take a little more personal responsibility. We do our job with so much passion, but passion must not always be the excuse to break ourselves down, physically and mentally. No job in the world is worth that. And I believe we can only protect our passion by beginning to take care of ourselves, avoiding burnout, and understanding that it is ultimately up to us to make the most of our work and our own lives. It is not selfish to want to build a beautiful life for yourself, and this also goes beyond Germany.
What would you say to young hairstylists coming into the business?
To anyone thinking about a career in the hairstyling industry,